subhanahu wa ta'ala, make dua through the beautiful names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks of those, the quality of those who do use their faculties correctly, those who do submit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the Quran Kareem says, وَمِمَّنْ خَلَقْنَا, from amongst those people who we have created, ummatun, there are a group of people, there are those individuals, يَهْدُونَ بِالْحَقِّ, that they guide through the truth, the haqq, and the revealed truth of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the wahi, which is sent to the Anbiya alayhi salatu wasalam, وَبِهِ يَعْدِلُونَ, and with it, they bring justice. So two qualities over here are mentioned. One is يَهْدُونَ بِالْحَقِّ, guiding, showing, indicating with the wahi and the revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the truth which has come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that can be whether it's in the form of advising, what we call mashwara, whether it be teaching, whether it be giving solutions to each and everything. Meaning these people, these individuals who have iman, who are those that have submitted to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, their guiding light is the Quran Kareem and the Sunnah of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, hidayah which comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the revealed truth and wahi from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they look at everything, they gauge everything through the lens of wahi and revelation. So anything, it can be anything in the world. It can be things which are social, it can be things which are commercial, anything that's there, يَهْدُونَ بِالْحَقِّ, their advice, their guidance is informed by the wahi. And وَبِهِ يَعْدِلُونَ, the second quality is that they mete out justice through it, meaning that as human beings there will be times when there are differences, there are times when there are arguments, and there is nothing in Islam that we say that as two individuals that you will never have some miscommunication, that there will never be an argument. And obviously it's going to happen. Two people are living in one house, husband and wife, there will be times there is differences, there will be arguments between colleagues, between employer and employee, between client. These are all things which are part of life. By no means does Islam ever say that's why we have a system of qada, we have a system of justice, we have a system of what to do. The question is that when such issues are raised, and when they do come up, when these differences and arguments, the question is, how is it settled? Through which means do these Muslims, through which means do these people try to settle their differences? So the Quran Kareem is saying that the quality of these people is وَبِهِ يَعْدِلُونَ, that through the haqq, through the Quran Kareem, through the Sharia, they also bring justice, meaning they settle the differences. This is an extremely important point to understand. These two together, or this point over here, living especially in a country where obviously at the governmental level there's no Islam over there. Okay. So when it comes to Muslims' personal issues amongst Muslimun, it is necessary, it's an obligation that Muslims make sure that they settle their differences and they address their issues through the light of Islam. So if there is a marital issue, an issue in marriage, there's a marital issue that comes up, you cannot, it's impermissible, you cannot immediately go to a civil court and see that how are we going to settle it just in court in this way. The very first thing that needs to happen is that to understand what is the hukm of Sharia over here. Is this, what is the ruling upon if, for example, it has come to divorce? That at the same time as well, Sharia doesn't say that there can never be talaq, there can never be divorce. That's the Catholic way. Our Sharia is wholesome, it's encompassing. Definitely, there are times where there's a match which is not suitable, and we find it becomes apparent later. So talaq is the way forward over there. That is the way to come out, but with ihsan, in the proper manner, in the way it is shown through the Sunnah of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. What is the method of giving talaq? How should it be given? When should it be given? which words can be used, which words should not be used, how many times should it be given. These are all ahkam and laws which are an obligation when someone goes into a marriage, into a nikah. These are all things which must be learned. And especially if this thing comes up, if it comes up as an issue, then this must be learned that what are the laws pertaining to it. We cannot take the issue to ghayrullah and to any other system of law. Now, once that is settled, then if it's something which needs to be settled also through a legal and a civil manner, for example, undoing the civil marriage as well, that's after the fact. That comes after that. But the first thing the Muslim must do, whether this is one example, talaq is just one example, nikah is one example. Just as we have our nikah in the masjid, your happy times are in the masjid, your nikah is in the masjid, like that, your not so happy times and things which you hope that did not occur, those also have to be taken care of through the Sharia. We don't merely just register a marriage certificate in the civil law and walk away, right? We also have nikah, we have walima. These are all Islamic things that you call, and you understand. It should be like that. Like that, when it comes to undoing these things, that also must be settled through Shariat. That also must be settled by seeking scholarly opinions on these issues. For example, inheritance, same thing. You can't leave it to a civil issue. I personally serve in the capacity in the Dawah Lifta as well, so we see these things. And unfortunately, the amount of issues that come up, those are all obviously going to be more limited than which actually are occurring in the community. But often these things come up. So this is an obligation on Muslims as a community that amongst ourselves, these things are first settled through the hukum of Sharia. So same thing with inheritance, we're giving an example of inheritance. So you find out what are the ahkam, how to make a will. This is very important. Especially living in a country where it's not based upon the Islamic distribution of final right, then the state will, often, it depends, depending on state law, etc. There can be, the distribution may not be as in accordance with Sharia. So it becomes very necessary for a person to firstly understand the importance of these issues, and secondly, to take the appropriate means of fulfilling these responsibilities. So وَمِمَّنْ خَلَقْنَا أُمَّةٌ يَهْدُونَ بِالْحَقِّ. When it comes to things of positivity, when it comes to guiding, when it comes to teaching, their guiding light is wahi. And when it comes to issues where things need to be settled, there is a difference, there is a problem that's come up, then over there also they use the Shari'at of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to establish justice. وَبِهِ يَعْدِلُونَ. And through it they establish justice. Now, the question comes that if this is the case, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He guides people and He accepts those that have taken these qualities of hidayah, يَهْدُونَ بِالْحَقِّ وَبِهِ يَعْدِلُونَ, then why do we see that in the world sometimes those that have not accepted Iman, those that have rejected Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then how is it that they also benefit from so many things and they apparently may be living very comfortable and luxurious lives? So over here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran al-Kareem, over here Mufassir explained that there are two sets of rules. One is that rule Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has kept for believers. What is the sunnatullah with the believers? The other is the sunnatullah with those that do not believe. So those that do not believe, وَالَّذِينَ كَذَّبُوا بِآيَاتِنَا سَنَسْتَدْرِجُهُمْ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gradually allows them to do what they want to do, and then immediately, at a certain point where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's qada comes, then He takes them and they have a horrific end. As it comes in other places in the Quran al-Kareem, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows the sinner to go on, then baghtatan, immediately, or in a surprise, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's adab and punishment comes. If you look through history, world history, that there hasn't been a single tyrant who just left the world peacefully and without any difficulties. There's always this, that the tyrant continues his injustice, then immediately a adab from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, suddenly an adab or a punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or the tables are turned in such a way that the person could not have even imagined. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how He deals with believers is one. Just as an example, if a person wants to just to understand this, that one is a standard that you have for your own children. One is a standard that you have for your own kids. The other is how if someone else brings their issue to you. For example, if someone comes to you and complains to you that, look, your son did my son wrong, your child did this to my child, then a good parent who cares about the tarbiyah and nurturing of his children, they will take this seriously and will discipline their own son. How can you do this to someone else? This is wrong. This is not good character. On the other hand, if it turns out that someone else, another child, as long as it's not something very serious, did something to your own son, say, okay, it's okay, forgive the kid. You teach them things of forgiveness and being nice to people, etc. So you have one standard for your own because you want yours to be at the highest level. You want your children to have the highest tarbiyah. Now, obviously, this example with Allah Ta'ala has nothing to do with us being children of Allah Ta'ala. The idea is that the believer, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala has kept a certain level and rank for them, that this is how you need to be in this world. Those that are by definition zalim, the one who commits shirk is the greatest zalim. The one who by definition is a tyrant, the one who by definition rejects and disbelieves in Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, what good and what lofty character can be expected from them? It's from the believer, the one who says, I believe in Allah, the one who says, I believe in the last day, the one who says that I accept everything that is in the Quran and the Sunnah. They are the ones who will be held to this pedestal, to this level. The one who has already rejected everything, what's there to tell them? What's there to expect out of them? That's why whenever these issues come up, this is my response. Now, when says, oh, such and such, they did this, and this power in this global, in this country. So, did you expect anything besides that? By definition, they're zalim. By definition, they're tyrants. They never express that they are people who are of justice or of hidayah. The question to be put, who should the question be put to? The one who says, I believe in Allah. The one who says, I am a Muhammadi, that I believe in the Sunnah of Rasulullah. The question to be put to them, that what are you doing in this situation? Are you upholding justice? Are you following, and do you hold the Sharia as your guide in your life as you claim that it should be? So the gauge for, and the yardstick and the ruler for the believer is one, and when it comes to the disbelievers, it's different. وَأُمْلِي لَهُمْ إِنَّ كَيْدِي مَتِينٌ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that we give them respite, we allow them. Whatever tyranny, whatever dhulm, oppression, stealing, looting, fraud, cheating, all of these things, oppression, we allow them to do this. It goes on and goes on. Then, inna kaydi mateen, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's final plan is inescapable. Then when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's qadar and qada comes, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will no longer accept this form of injustice, then the adab of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes in a way that they will never even expect. We make dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us the understanding of the Quran Kareem.